In 1991, KTVU reporter George Watson and photographer Roy Inouye brought us this report looking at Yellowstone's majestic landscape and grand history.
The legend of Yellowstone's beauty and grandeur was born around the campfires of mountain men. In the mid-1800s, they gathered to tell tall tales of rivers that ran through freezing high mountain country, and yet the waters were still hot enough to cook fish. They spoke of sulfurous geysers that smelled of hell but looked like heaven. Unknown forces spewed mud, steam, and hot water hundreds of feet into the air. Not surprisingly, nobody believed these tall tales because Yellowstone, then as now, has to be seen to be believed. The animals that call Yellowstone home have found a safe haven from extinction in this part of the world. The bison is a classic example. In the early 19th century, an estimated 60 million bison roamed North America. Before the century's end, there were only 50 or so still alive in the lower 48 states. Today, in stately grace, 3,000 of them graze the lush meadows of Yellowstone. Of all the attractions of Yellowstone, the wildlife are perhaps the most precious. Moose dine in meandering rivers, more than 20,000 elk grow fat and prosper here, and grizzly bears are able to maintain their stubborn toehold in the U.S. Bears hold a unique place in the park. They are wild animals perceived as mischievous pets who will eat anything and act cute as a reward. But tourists often ignore a basic wisdom. A bear can kill you as easily as it can eat an offered Twinkie.
Up until the late 1960s, Yellowstone actually had huge garbage dumps spread out through the park. And the image of bears in many of the American public is seeing roadside black bears being fed, or they fed them themselves. And we stopped that because we had tame bears. They were not wild bears. And so we closed all the garbage dumps, cold turkey. We started enforcing very seriously all the feeding, don't feed the wildlife, store your food, and we now, after a couple of generations, have a wild population of grizzly and black bears.
But wild animals pose more of a threat than tame ones, and park officials go out of their way to warn people that a mistake in the wilderness can be fatal.
We are seeing increasing numbers of people approach animals far too closely, literally trying to get up into the eye of a buffalo or the eye of an elk. And certainly that's a very dangerous thing to do where there are wild animals. So in a message that we're giving the public, we're telling them that these animals are wild, potentially dangerous, and that each year visitors are hurt and sometimes killed by animals when they approach too closely. We feel that that perhaps will get their attention more than all of the other safety messages that we've been giving for so long.
Yellowstone's lush meadows and countless stands of pine trees belie the fact that anywhere you stand here, you stand above a cauldron of volcanic violence, patiently waiting for the proper passage of time. More than 2 million years ago, Yellowstone was born in a cataclysmic volcanic explosion thousands of times more powerful than the explosion that tore apart Mount St. Helens. And as the eye can see, this is not a dead volcano. 600,000 years ago, there was a second major eruption. And as the pot continues to boil, another molten explosion is inevitable in the geologic line drawn toward what will be.